Whoa, jingle! Happy time has just begun. Brother, sister, smart, dumb, fun. Yeah!
Get down. In the hot tub. Huh. Yeah, there's a lot of James Brown in this music, and I like that.
I like it
Nice.
too. I agree.
Happy Sunday, Ann Brothers. I see you've got your super comfy whoopee on.
I do. I have
That
my
thing.
blanket disguised as a tent, disguised as a shirt. Because it's cold. It's cold.
It is cold. It's cold
Makes my
in
body
Michigan and
hurt.
only going to get colder. I understand Texas is under like a bunch of winter weather advisories. We know how that's going to go because the last time that happened in Texas, it broke.
It broke and people died. Yeah. Good
Yes.
job, Texas.
So yeah, it's stupid cold here in the state of Michigan and only going to get stupid colder. But the good news, Ann, is it's not as cold here as it is in Wisconsin, where Lisa Lee, we saw that you posted that it was 17 degrees below zero this morning at 9:30 a.m. I'm like, yay, so great.
Wow.
I don't miss that. You know, we lived in Wisconsin for what, 6 years?
Mhm.
And we had a couple of winters where it was like it gets stupid cold up there. You know, growing up in Michigan, you know, it gets cold here, but you usually max out at about 10 below, maybe 15 below. But
Mhm.
was it January of 2019? I woke up to literally minus 36 below. That was the air temperature. It was like 60 below with the wind chill. It was ridiculous. I'd never seen anything like that. It's dumb. So yeah.
Yeah, it makes me sad thinking about it. I don't want to think
Yeah,
about
I
it.
totally get that. So yeah, we have various winter weather advisories over here in the west side and cold advisories and blah 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 and
Mhm.
yeah,
Stuff.
super. It's so super.
It is.
So yeah, welcome to we are in the middle of January and it feels every bit the middle of January here in the upper Midwest. And that's okay. You know, here's the thing I love about your jacket slash tent slash blanket, Anne, is that it reminds me of the Snuggies from the early 2000s, which was a
Mhm.
blanket and a coat all at the same time. They're cuter now because the only one back in the day, the only ones you could get were kind of like that blue color, that blue
Mhm.
felt. So they're much more sophisticated now.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
yeah, I like it.
definitely. Poutine with macarons on it is definitely sophisticated. That's
That is
me.
super sophisticated. And when we were in Marquette at the coffee shop over there, the crib. Oh, there goes the hood. Oh yeah.
See, so you can hide from the world.
That's
Mm.
right. There was a young woman there that was wearing her big old snuggie, and she was very happy with herself
Mhm.
wearing that thing. So I
Yeah.
get it. So yeah, yeah. Now, where did you get that one, Anne?
I got it from my husband. My husband gave it to me for
Nice.
my birthday because he knows that this is what I need for my birthday. I need
Nice. I also
something
noticed.
that I can hide
Yes,
in, yet am wearing it.
correct.
Mhm.
So it's part of the super snuggly lifestyle. So the super cozy
Exactly.
lifestyle.
Cozy
Nicely done.
lifestyle. Mhm.
Good.
Cozy 2025.
Cozy 2025, hashtag Cozy 2025, but not on
Exactly.
TikTok because that's some of the big news right now is that if you're trying to watch us on TikTok, A, we've never been on TikTok, and B, TikTok's not a thing anymore. So
Exactly. I was going to say it's a good thing I didn't waste my time learning that. Oh,
yeah, that's all my students have been able to talk about for the last couple of weeks is the TikTok ban. It's not really going to happen. It's not really going to happen. It's not really going to happen. But guess what? It happened.
yeah. I was going to say
Sorry.
you underestimate how much um, what is it? The boomers and late Z or late X hate TikTok. You really underestimated people that have
Yeah.
never been on TikTok who hate it.
Well, and I just think it's funny that we've decided that TikTok is bad, but the rest of this shit is good.
Yeah.
So I'm like, TikTok bad, but tweeting, of course, it's not Twitter anymore, X and Facebook and all the other new shit, Blue Sky, Redfin, whatever they are, they're all fine. It's all
Yeah.
fine. It's because China is stealing our data. I'm like, as opposed to Mark Zuckerberg that's stealing my data, or Jeff Bezos that's stealing my data, or Elon Musk that's stealing my data. Hey, look, it's Lori. It's Lori Worrell. Worrell.
Whoa.
What's up?
Morning.
Lori Worrell sent me a toy. She sent me a knitted positivity penis. So Yeah.
A
Wait, hey, Ann,
positive
talk for a
penis?
second. Yes,
Okay.
talk for a second because I'm gonna go get my positive penis. I'll be right back.
Okay, excellent. It's nice because I felt like I've earned a penis a long time ago, and I still don't have like an actual penis to show for it, but I really feel like I've earned mine already. So anyway, what else is new? Um, my awesome Pusheen thing. Oh, here comes Jenny with her positive penis. Where is it, Jenny
I'm back.
Brothers?
Look, it's the positive penis.
He does look positive. He looks very affirming.
Yes, this little positive penis is here to make everybody happy. It's the positive penis, and it says, "I may be tiny, a tiny penis, but I believe in you. Go do your thing."
You know, that makes me feel better about myself because here I was doing my own thing for such a long time, and now I have a penis to tell me it's okay.
I know, like a little penis. Boop boop boop.
She says
Positive
the one
penis.
with
Boop.
hair was more friendly than the one without. I agree. You know, sometimes you
Yeah.
get
Oh
a
yeah.
bald penis, it seems very aggressive. But one with hair on it was like, hey, I'm easy going. My hair's flopping all over the place.
Oh yes, that's right, folks. We've literally just spent the past 2 minutes talking about tiny knitted penises, and
That
there
looks
you
more
go.
crocheted than knitted. Is it
You're right.
crocheted?
You're right. I believe that is crocheted. I think that's
Yeah,
definitely a
that's a
crocheted
crocheted
tiny
penis.
penis. Yeah.
Tiny
So
penis. Wow. Does it come in a kit? If not, Lori, you need to make tiny penis kits because I would buy one.
totally. I'm like,
Hmm.
hey, tiny penis kid, look at
And
me.
then you
Okay,
could
good.
like
Yeah.
make your own message, whatever you want to be affirming.
Hmm. Believe in yourself because this penis does. Okay, good.
Exactly. And if a penis can believe in you, you can believe in yourself.
I'll buy that. Well said.
Hmm.
Well said. Yeah. So anyway, everybody, happy Sunday. We are again doing some brunch time. Live show, and whoever can join us, that's fantastic. We have a Ann Brothers is going to go ahead and take us through the second half of the Six Wives of Henry the
Hmm.
VIII today. Last week we had a very informative show. This week is going to be even more informative. We're going to
Hmm.
talk about things and stuff. So there it is, the Tudor Wives, the Six Wives of Henry the VIII, Part 2. So very good.
Yes.
Uh, all right. So, Anne, I'm going to take us through the synopsis and let us get going here. So
Okay.
here we go. All right,
Hmm.
here we go. We are Anne and Janice Brothers. We are the brother sisters. For those of you that don't know us, here we are. For those of you that do know us, we're back. And we are bringing you the gift of smart, dumb fun. You thought the holidays were over? They're not, because you're right here getting more gifts. It's your January gift.
Hmm.
We're in our 50s, which means we are Gen X, which means that spilling milk or breaking things meant serious trouble. There was no, hey, it's okay, it's just milk. It was like, motherfucker, what, you know. Now,
Man, all of a sudden you did not deserve milk.
correct. Wasting all that, and I get it, milk's expensive, but still, it was
Yeah.
I didn't not like we were doing it on purpose, but
Good
now
spurt.
the other thing is this, and here's the thing. Here's the other side of that coin, is that when you and I broke something, um, the fear of our parents' retribution was enough to really turn us into A, great teammates, and two, fucking MacGyver. So
Hmm.
it's amazing what that sort of time and pressure does to you in terms of making you ingenious and basically, adapting to any situation and using all of your tools and talents. For instance, when Ann and I were young, we were messing around. Ann
Oh no,
made me
we were messing
mad.
around. I was teasing Jenny
Mm,
mercilessly to the point where
mm,
she decided that I needed to be murdered. And she was the
yes.
person to do it.
I was. And so anyway, I was chasing Anne. She went up and locked herself in the bathroom upstairs. And I decided, because I don't know how old I was, 10 or 11. I decided the best way to get through that bathroom door was going to be to take a broom to it. So I tried to jam a broom through the door, knocking a hole in the door, knowing that this was going to get us both murdered. We snapped into action. We put our differences aside. I no longer wanted to murder my sister. It was only about preserving us from my father, who would kill us. So using toilet paper, a toilet paper roll, um, our watercolor paint kit that we had for our little coloring book, we managed to fill the hole, cover it, and so nobody noticed for, I don't know, 15 years.
It was amazing. Fortunately, the house that we lived in, the upstairs, was a shit box. So, there was a
Totally.
lot. There was it kind of, true to form for the rest of the place upstairs. But yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Hmm.
So that's an example of what that sort of trouble meant, that we were able to find ways to work together. I,
Hmm.
I would say that the fact that we were in a very structured, disciplined household, helped us develop talents that we didn't even know we had.
Exactly. We could work together like nobody's business.
That is correct. Work together, win together. So, on our show, as you will find out, we talk about smart stuff, dumb stuff, fun stuff, and any combination of the three, as you know, because we literally spent the first 5 minutes of this show talking about the crocheted positive penis. So, there you have it. We are not cool, hip, or sexy, and we know this because we are too tired to try. It's the truth. It's so hard to get all dolled up and looking nice. So,
Have you seen what I'm wearing today?
yes,
It's like you can't tell I'm wearing a bra. I'm not wearing a bra. I'm not wearing a bra, but you can't even tell.
Well, for the record, I actually took a shower today. I am clean. I am show clean right now. So
Nice job.
It's because I care. It's because I care.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Okay, we are not a true crime, celebrity, or influencer podcast. We are queens for a second day. So join us. Be queens with us because we're queens. Yeah. We don't have any sort of we don't have any backing by anybody cool or famous, so we're just doing our thing because we like it. It's fun. We have been told we are good to listen to when you want to learn things about stuff and when you need distractions from, say, upcoming national events or, say, incredibly bad football games. So that's us. You're welcome.
Yes.
Yes, this podcast is not G, PG, or PG-13. We swear. We talk about bitchin' women and punk-ass men. We say F words. And there are going to be times when we have a crocheted tiny positive penis on camera. There we go. Yes. And I'm not sorry.
I'm not either.
Because penis is a regular scientific word. You should not be afraid to use the word penis or vagina because they're scientific terms. Calm down.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Join us on our website, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. Like us, follow us, smash that button. Give us your feedback with our Q&A, our polls. And ask Alexa to play us. I'm pretty sure that Suri will play us too because we're on Apple Podcasts. She knows us too. All the cool AI women know who we are. So there you go. It's fantastic.
They're very helpful.
It's super helpful. So again, there's all the stuff you can find us on. We are on all the big boys and big girls. Exactly. All right. Let's talk about smart stuff, dumb stuff, fun stuff that happened this week. And would you like to start us off?
Yes, Duncan and I did something fun and smart on Wednesday, which is both of our days off. We went to Mathi Botanical Garden because they have a beautiful, beautiful conservatory, and it was sunny that day and cold. So we went and brought our books and sat in the conservatory, and it's all humid and beautiful in the tropical room. But they also had a small exhibit of Elzada Clover and Lois Jotter, and these were two women who worked for U of M. Actually, Clover worked for them. She was a lecturer in the botany department for botany. At the time they didn't have a botany department. They just had a biology department, but she taught botany. And Jotter was getting her master's in botany. And these two women joined an expedition down the Colorado River through the Grand Canyon. And this was in the early 1930s, and they were the first two non-native women to travel down the Colorado River through the Grand Canyon. And what they were doing was they were trying to find botanical examples of the plant life in the Grand Canyon. And of course, they were told not to go because they would die, and that they would cause the deaths of the men on the expedition because they were ladies. And I don't know, their wombs were wandering or something. Anyway, so this book came out. It just came out in paperback, but the book came out and Duncan bought me this book and I finished it this summer. It's a great story. So it's so cool that, and the thing is they should be doing it. Should have a huge permanent exhibit of them because these women were both associated with U of M, and so is this botanical garden. It's the U of M Mathi Botanical Garden. So it was a nice little exhibit. I got super excited because I already knew the ladies. We got to hang out where it was warm and tropical and pretend it wasn't January in Michigan. So it was smart. It was fun. We smuggled in a chai latte, and it was so nice. It was so nice. I wanted to stay there. I was like, I'm going to live here now. So that's what we did. It's a great exhibit. Even if you don't get there, I highly suggest you pick up the book. It's in paperback right now. It's Brave the Wild River. Great story, amazing pictures, wonderful women, and smart and fun.
Cool.
Yay me.
Done.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Ann Brothers, mine's dumb. The Detroit Lions. The Detroit fucking Lions. Proving me right since 1970. Just, just why? Why do I still love you, Detroit? I'm in an unhealthy relationship with the Detroit Lions, who played last night as 9.5 point favorites, and they laid a giant donkey turd egg all over the place and proved me right yet again. I had a bad feeling. You and I actually talked about this yesterday
Mm-hmm.
morning, that I had a bad feeling about this game, that teams that get the first round bye in the playoffs oftentimes do not fare particularly well. They lose their edge coming out of the regular season, and Detroit played that. They played their worst game of the season, and it wasn't just that Jared Goff was bad. He was bad last night, but everything about them, they blocked poorly. They made mistakes on defense. They got in their own way coaching. Again, a lot of interesting, fun trick plays, that one of which resulted in an interception, and I'm like, they just forgot how to play football, and they did it again. And I'm not okay with everybody. I'm like reading all this stuff on Facebook, but they're like, "Hey, Lions, great season. Thanks for a great season." I'm like, "Nope, I'm not thanking you for a great season. No, no, no. That's loser talk. That's loser talk from a fan base that has grown accustomed to losing. I have not. I'm never going to be okay with that loser talk. Sorry. Pissed. You had one job, Detroit. At least win. At least just get to the Super Bowl. You don't even have to win it. You have an amazing team. Best team you've had in years. These windows close very quickly. I
They
believe they
do.
have literally lost their best chance to win a Super Bowl. It happened this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounds like some of their other not head coaches, but other coaching dudes have gotten interviews to coach their
Correct.
own teams. I'm like, oh, this
Correct.
sounds like the band is breaking up.
The band is breaking up, so
Mhm.
I don't know. I think, like I said, the windows close quickly. Yeah. Damn it.
Mm.
Anyway.
Damn it. Too bad. Too bad. So sad.
Yes. Sad line. Okay.
Mhm.
Anyway, hey, let's talk about the six. Okay, so I have now been listening pretty much to the soundtrack over and over again since I saw six at the Fisher Theater last week. And what a great soundtrack. And I'm super excited because they are giving six the Hamilton treatment. In other words, they're going to be doing a live they're going to be recording a live performance and putting it out on streaming like they did with Hamilton, which, as far as I'm concerned, they should do that for all Broadway shows. I think
Mhm.
Broadway is missing a fantastic opportunity to A, bring more of this to the masses, and B, make a bunch of money. So,
Yeah.
people want to see Broadway shows, but they're not always going to get to Broadway. And frankly,
Mhm.
with the price of tickets on Broadway, it's limiting. And then even if you see a touring show, it's limiting because
Mhm.
there again, tickets are very expensive. So
Mhm.
you give people the opportunity to see something like this. The streaming services will make money, producers will make money, we all get to enjoy it. More of that. So last week, Anne, you talked about the first three of Henry the Eighth's wives. We talked about Catherine of Aragon, we talked about Anne Boleyn, and we talked about Jane Seymour. So we've got more. We got three more to talk about, and their stories, I'm sure, will be as fascinating as the three that we talked about
Mhm.
last week. So here we go. You ready?
I'm ready, Jenny Brothers.
Let's go.
So last week I started with a little history of Henry VIII, and I thought about doing that, going through that history again. But I was like, nah, let's talk about. We'll just talk briefly. So especially during this time. So for the next three wives, Henry VIII, he was 48 when he married Anne of Cleves. He was 49 when he married Catherine Howard, and he was 52 when he married Catherine Parr. And by his third marriage, by the time he was married to Jane Seymour, he was becoming pretty decrepit. He was putting on weight. He was always a man of a lot of exercise. And he started, he probably had untreated diabetes. So he had leg ulcers that wouldn't heal. So he wasn't eating as much, he wasn't exercising as much, but he was eating as much as he used to. He was just becoming a middle-aged man during the 1500s, which is,
Not awesome. Not awesome.
not
Yeah.
awesome. So, but he's marrying these women who are significantly younger than he is. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. So another man I'm going to mention today, and I mentioned him a little bit when I talked about Anne Boleyn, and this is Thomas Howard. He's the third Duke of Norfolk. He was uncle to Anne Boleyn and uncle to the fifth wife, Catherine Howard. And
I didn't know
he
that.
was technically the head of his family, even though she was a Boleyn and her father, she was named Boleyn after her father. He was technically the head of his family. So he had a lot to do with the rise and fall of both of his nieces. He actually, with Anne Boleyn, he stood in judgment over her with a bunch of other noblemen and found her guilty of treason. So he was, he made a ton of money off both of his nieces. And then when they did not serve him anymore, he had no problem condemning them to death. So
awesome.
I know, right?
Woman continues to be the greatest.
Exactly.
So
Thomas Cromwell. Thomas Cromwell was Henry VIII's advisor for years. He helped bring down Catherine of Aragon. He helped rise up and then bring down Anne Boleyn. He helped raise up Jane Seymour. He helped facilitate the marriage to Anne of Cleves, which was a total failure. And that was kind of the last straw. And because of that, he lost his head. So,
yeah. Tell you what, man, Henry VIII, he was quick with the axe, He
was quick with the axe. He was. He killed Thomas More. What was the other one? Cardinal Cranmer. No, not it was a different cardinals. Anyway, so he, Wolsey, Cardinal Wolsey. So the first three advisors, Wolsey, Thomas More, and Thomas Cromwell, he had them. Wolsey was going to be convicted of treason, and he just managed to die before. And then he took both Thomas More and Thomas Cromwell's head. So he was very hard on advisors. And I forgot to mention that when Anne Boleyn was killed, she had the 5 other men were killed with her, including her brother, and they were all Henry's friends. I know. And then finally we have Bishop Gardiner. I'm going to mention him more during Catherine Parr's when she was queen, and he tried to have her tried for treason. So yeah, this is full of awesome dudes. This whole Tudor court was awesome dudes.
It's a shit garden of men.
The shit garden of men, exactly. So there you go.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well. All right. So that sets the stage for these women. Let's start with. I can see why you're why Anne of Cleves is your favorite, and I also think she gets 2 of the best numbers in the musical 6. So
she totally does. She's Anne of Cleves is my favorite. This is if you're watching this, I have the famous painting of Hans Holbein the Younger, his famous painting of her that Henry saw and fell in love with her. Look how tiny her waist is, Jenny Brothers.
Yeah, that's not anatomically possible. Nope.
It is not anatomically possible, but she's a good-looking lady. Anyway, Anne of Cleves was from Germany. She was born either June 28th or September 22nd in 1515 in Dusseldorf. They're not quite sure because, she was.
It didn't matter.
It didn't matter. I mean, she was.
It didn't matter.
Yeah, she was a German princess, but she already had an older sister, and you're like, just put it over there for now. Anyway. She died in July 15th of 1557. Age 41 or 42, and probably of cancer. She was raised Protestant, which was why Thomas Cromwell wanted her to be the next queen. But in real life, she was quite flexible. Her mother was Catholic, her father was Protestant, and she'll show a great flexibility of religion as she lives in England. In 1527, at the age of 11, she was betrothed to Francis, Duke of Lorraine. So that was a French boy. Henry would use this for the reason to divorce her because he was saying, well, maybe she was, never not unbetrothed. Anyway, whatever. Let's see. In 1535, her betrothal to the Duke of Lorraine is canceled. And Anne could read and write, but only in German. So she wasn't quite as well educated as the first 2 wives of Henry VIII, but she was educated. She was taught how to be a good and proper noblewoman. That was really the focus, which means, she was pious and sweet and demure, but she liked to play card games. So that was one of the things the English noticed about her right away was she knew how to play cards. She was considered gentle, virtuous, and docile, which probably gave Henry a big old boner. So There you go. In 1539, the marriage between Henry and Anne was arranged by Thomas Cromwell, and Thomas Cromwell was also Protestant, though he, disguised himself as a Catholic, and he really wanted this allegiance between the Germans and the English so they could use it against the French and the Spanish.
And there was nobody worse than the French or the Spanish.
Exactly. And England wasn't, and like England could hold its own, but it was a tiny little island with not a fantastic navy. So compared to France and especially Spain, if they had really wanted to bring down the hammer on England, they could have done that. But so anyway, this was supposed to be this uniting of two, whatever. About this time, the infamous painting of Anne by Hans Holbein, the Younger, was delivered to Henry, and he was instantly in love. He's like, yeah, that's what I want. Somebody with a tiny waist who'll keep her mouth shut. She's going to be the next Queen of England.
Super. That's like, I can just see that on your, what is it?
Your profile page?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. It's not Grindr. It's the other one. Grindr's the gay one. What's the, I don't know. It doesn't matter.
I don't know. Anyway, so yeah.
Tinder,
so
there it is. Tinder. It's
Tinder. That's it. Yeah. So her Tinder
page. I have a 9-inch waist. And I'm quiet. Perfect.
And I'm quiet. The thing is, like, he didn't speak German and she didn't speak English. So, I know. So anyway, what could possibly go wrong? So anyway, on the 1st of January in 1540, Anne comes to England. There's this big procession. I think she landed in Dover. So there's this big procession, of escorting the new Queen of England to Henry in London. And he's supposed to wait for her in London. But he decides to meet her at about the halfway point, and it does not go well. He still thinks that he's a young, hot young man who's fresh and fun. So he and his gentlemen dress up as like commoners, and they burst in on the Queen, and she's supposed to be, who is this handsome man who's burst into my apartment? And this is not, she's like, what the fuck is this old man doing here? And he planted a big kiss on her lips, grabs her and kisses her. She's like, she doesn't speak the language. She doesn't know who this guy is because nobody painted a picture of him and sent her a picture. He's just some dirty, fat old man who's like, why isn't anybody protecting me? So she pushes him off. She gives him dirty looks. She says some things in German that cannot be translated to a king of England. And Henry gets real butthurt.
That could have been a really great episode of Three's Company,
It could have been. He sees himself as a dashing, prince, and she sees a gross old guy.
Worst episode ever.
Exactly. Oh man, did he? And he did not forgive. He was very, very hurt and decided that she was ugly and that she smelled and that he couldn't possibly marry her because she was so disgusting. Anyway, they end up getting married anyway, because there's nothing like a foundation of not being able to speak the same language and not being attracted to each other. Perfect. So anyway, on January 6th, 1540, they're married. She is 24 and the marriage is never consummated. About 6 months later, June 24th, 1540, Anne is commanded to leave the court, and she agrees to an annulment, and it goes through legal channels. And I guess the big reason Henry said was that because she was probably betrothed to somebody else, and his conscience would not let him be attracted to her as a woman. So in July 12th of 1540, their marriage is annulled. And she agrees to it. She agrees to it pretty quickly. So Anne got to keep her dowry by the king, which was enough in lands and property to maintain a queen's court. So she got to keep all that. He also granted her other lands, homes, and money, and she became the richest woman in England.
Time out.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, why would he do that? So he's going to chop all these other heads off and, make like Catherine of Aragon's life miserable. Why didn't he do that with her?
Well,
I don't understand.
He wanted Catherine to join a convent, and she wouldn't. Catherine fought him tooth and nail until he decided to basically become the head of the church and annul his own marriage. Anne would have fought him tooth and nail, not to relinquish the crown. Anne of Cleves didn't fight him. She was a German princess, so he really couldn't have her beheaded because she was a princess in her own right, and she agreed. Sense. She agreed right away. She's like, fine, I'll agree to an annulment. And this is what he did. He was grateful that he could get, like she was, stepping away, and he made her the richest woman in England. And I was like,
So the fact that she was agreeable and that would have started some sort of, we'll call it a, I don't know, public relations, an incident with international public relations disaster
right.
for him. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. And the thing
Gotcha.
with Catherine of Aragon was an international disaster for him. I mean, he couldn't, their relationship with Spain after what happened with Catherine of Aragon never got better. It never got better.
Okay.
So yeah, so this was, it was a way to avoid an international incident. Germany, her brother, who was the head of where, the king or head prince or whatever, where she was from in Germany, wanted her back. And she's like, no, I'm staying here. Because if she had left Germany, she wouldn't have gotten to take all of her stuff with her. So
No,
she
that's a
stayed in
good
England.
point. That's a good point.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love the fact that in the musical Six, Anne of Cleves is sort of a Nicki Minaj type, and
Mhm.
her or like a Izzy Azalea type. So her number is especially funny because they play it like, where you have a lot of hip hop music where you've got, the boys are like the players and they got their bitches and they got their cars, and they play her in that role, and it's
Mhm.
really great.
It's
really funny.
really funny. So anyway, she becomes the richest woman in England, and her new title is the King's beloved sister. And she precedes all women in England except for his next wife, whoever that lucky girl may be, and his daughters. So she's at the time she's the fourth woman of England, basically.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
good for her.
So she has a good relationship with Henry and his daughters. She was often at court, and she enjoyed the status and wealth of her entire life. She never returned to Germany, and she never remarried. Because why the fuck would you?
God, you talk about best case scenario. That's like she won. She won the Queen Wars.
She did.
Yeah.
On the 1st of October in 1553, she participated in the coronation of Queen Mary. They did eventually have a falling out because Queen Mary felt she was a secret Protestant. And like I said, Anne of Cleves was very flexible religiously. She was like, hey, whatever the religion is where I am, that's the religion I am. So, if you need me to be more Protestant, I'm more Protestant. If you need me to be more Catholic, I'm more Catholic. So, yeah. But that wasn't
the way that you keep your head.
That's a way that you keep your head. She outlived all of the other wives of Henry the VIII. So
nicely done.
Yeah. So she's my favorite. I'm like, she made a decision that was good for her.
Yay. That was rare. That was rare at that time for women. Yeah.
Yeah. She was like, hey, I'm not going to do what's, Henry's like, do this. And she's like, okay, you'll give me a bunch of money and then I can do what I want. Okay.
Yeah. That sounds pretty sweet, actually.
Yeah.
Good job.
Was sweet.
Good job, Anne of Cleves.
Yeah. Good job, Anne of Cleves. Nice job. So she's smart enough.
I like it.
Yeah. So next, number 5. And now of all of the 6, I think Catherine Howard has the saddest story. I think her story is the most depressing. She was English. She was, like I said, she was first cousin of Anne Boleyn. So she was the first cousin of the second queen. She was born in 1523. When in 1523? Who the fuck knows?
Who knows?
But we do know when she died, and that was February 13th of 1542. She was one of 10 children. As I said, her first cousin was Anne Boleyn. Her father was Edmund Howard. So the Duke of Norfolk, the head of his family, this is his third brother. And during this time, all inherited money, all the title and all the wealth and lands went to the oldest son. The other sons didn't get anything. So he was the third son. So he had nothing. He had champagne taste and Kool-Aid budget. So he's the third son. He's the brother, as I said, he's the brother of Thomas Howard, 3rd Duke of Norfolk. Edmund was a gambler and general maker of poor choices. So kind of a dick.
Okay. Yeah.
Her mother was Joyce Culpeper, and you're going to hear that name again. And she died when Catherine was 5. So Catherine wasn't the youngest child. I think she was either 8 or 9, but she was way on the low end. Catherine's young life was very unstable. She was unwanted and underparented, to use a more modern terminology. Let's see. She was barely literate. She could read and write her own name. but she was considered pretty. And really, what does a girl need other than to be pretty? So she was considered pretty. In 1531, at around the age of 8, she was sent to live with her step grandmother, who was the Dowager Duchess of Norfolk. And supervision here was lax. This home, the Dowager Duchess's home, is kind of where all the Howards sent their unwanted or orphaned kids. So there was a bunch of kids in this household. Everybody had enough to wear and enough to eat, and that's kind of as far as it went.
Awesome.
And the truth is, the Dowager Duchess was seldom at home. She was usually at court. So you have a bunch of, you know what it is, Jenny, when you have the hallway at school.
Yes.
In between classes.
Yes.
Okay. Now imagine that's where you live.
Yeah, because that's a place where you don't want to be. I'm a teacher and I don't want to be in the hallway between classes.
Exactly.
I have to be, but I don't want to be there.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Because it kind of sucks. So that's, not too many kids, not enough adults, nobody giving a shit. There you go. And of course, who was she? She was the daughter. She was the fifth daughter of a third son. Please.
Yeah. Insignificant. Yeah.
Insignificant.
God, could you be less significant at that place in time?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, she would have been better off in a merchant's home or somebody else's home where she could have at least learned a trade and gotten married. But here she wasn't even really marriageable because even though she was pretty, she didn't have a dowry. It was a shitty time. Anyway.
That sucks. God.
So in 1536, at about the age of 13, she started a relationship with her music teacher, Henry Mannix, and he was about 10 years her senior, and this lasted for about 2 years. Now, there is evidence to suggest that they never had sex, but it was a sexual relationship. Does that make sense? So he was, they were going to first, second, third base sort of thing. It was gross. It was gross. Yeah, and this lasted for about 2 years. And then in 1539, at about the age of 16, she became lovers with Francis Durham, who was the secretary to the Dowager Duchess. And again, he was probably about 10 to 12 years older than she was. And they did address each other as husband and wife, so they may have been pre-contracted. But, there was never any paperwork. Eventually, he got sent to Ireland, and her step-grandmother got her a place in the court of Anne of Cleves. So if anything, that was probably her big break. It was that, so in 1540, after having a sexual relationship with this man, she was sent off to be a lady of waiting for Anne of Cleves. And, well, we know how that turned out. So probably not only was Henry not attracted to Anne of Cleves, he was probably getting some good looks at Catherine Howard because a flirtation kind of started. And the Howards were like, hey, he's not into this Cleves woman. And he seems to be making eyes at Catherine. Is that her name? Catherine? So they kind of pushed her forward, thinking that she would be his mistress while he looked for a wife. Because once once everybody understood that Anne of Cleves was out, they started looking at Spain and Italy and France for other brides, royal brides for him. And the Howards kind of thought, well, hey, we'll just push one of our cousins, one of our hot lady cousins, and we'll get some stuff out of it, and maybe she'll get a dowry. Well, surprise to everybody, this flirtation turned into marriage. Everybody was surprised that Henry decided to take on this 17-year-old, barely literate, flirtatious, fun girl as his next wife. Now, Catherine wasn't just flirting with Henry during this time. She was also flirting with Thomas Culpeper, who was one of her cousins that she just met at court. He was one of Henry's dudes, that he hung out with. So she's like, flirt. Honestly, I'm sure she thought, I'm never going to be a queen. But hey, this Thomas Culpeper's fun and he's cute and Henry's fat and he's got seeping leg wounds, I don't want to be queen that bad. Yay. But, when it turns out, when Henry wants you...
What 17-year-old wouldn't want that, Anne?
Exactly. It turns out when you're a 17-year-old girl and the King of England decides that you're the love of his life, then, the other dude, he's out of the picture. So in July of 1540, Henry the VIII, who is 49, marries Catherine Howard, who is 17. Henry's not in good shape, as I've expressed. He's very overweight. He has leg ulcers that won't heal, probably from diabetes. Let's just say sexually, he has a hard time getting it up. We'll just put it all out there. He is not, there's no Viagra,
He's not a vigorous and vital man.
He's not a vigorous and vital man, but still
There's
feels
no hymns yet. There's no hymns.
No hymns. Exactly. He is, when you think about like some of your students, Jenny, who are pretty and kind of dumb and.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
God. Yeah.
Disaster waiting to happen.
Yes.
The day, I'm sorry, I transposed the numbers, but the same day that they were married is the day that Thomas Cromwell is executed. He's beheaded. So, betrothal, execution, wedding feast, hooray!
Nothing says wedding feast like an execution, right?
Like an execution, exactly. Queen Catherine's motto is "No other will be his." In spring of 1541, Catherine and Thomas Culpeper start having secret meetings facilitated by Lady Rochester, who was Anne Boleyn's sister-in-law. So they start having some secret meetings, and I'm sure they're just playing cards and talking, They
were talking about books. And
exactly.
They were like a secret little book club.
Exactly.
That.
I mean,
yes.
Catherine couldn't read, but yes, that's definitely what it was. Right. Well, castles are fairly small places crowded with lots of people spying on you. And the queen was always, a focus of attention. And it doesn't take long for people to figure out that she's having an illicit affair with one of Henry's boys. And on November 1st, 1541, the downfall of Catherine Howard begins. On the 7th of November of that year, she's imprisoned. On the 23rd of that year, she's stripped of her titles. So they got married in August of 1540, and by November of 1541, she is out. So just over a year. While on trial, Thomas Culpeper admits to having an affair with the queen. They haul Francis Durham back, and he admits that they had an affair before she came to court. Her relationship to her music teacher also comes to light. And this is in December 1st of 1541, a couple weeks after she is stripped of all her titles. Culpeper and Durham are convicted of treason. Culpeper is beheaded because he was shown mercy because he was of a noble family, where the other dude, the secretary, is drawn and quartered because he's convicted of treason. Their heads are put on spikes at the London Bridge and stay there for 5 years.
Whoa, drawn, quartered. Oh,
I know. So if you're like convicted of something and your head is put on the bridge, if you're a family member with a way to bribe the king or to bribe the you can beg for the head back, but these guys didn't have anybody to beg for their heads, so they just sat on pikes for 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ew. Yeah. Ew.
So this is the best part of all, Jenny. So in February of 1542, Royal Assessment by Commission Act of 1542 is made into law, and it becomes treason and punishable by death for a queen to fail to disclose her sexual history to the king within 20 days of their marriage or two in. And this made Catherine retroactively guilty of treason. No trial was held, and she was beheaded about a week later.
By axe, no less. Yay.
By axe, yeah. Anne Boleyn got they brought in an executioner from Calais in France, and he used a sword. It's very swift.
Okay.
But yeah, they beheaded old Catherine with an axe. So what? She was like 19, maybe.
Yeah. Wow, that's some straight bullshit right there. Wow.
She never had anybody, like, at least Anne Boleyn had a lot of support throughout her reign and her relationship with Henry. Catherine had nothing. She didn't even have herself. I mean, Catherine was not equipped for this at all.
Well, and when you think about it, so you have two of these queens that are beheaded, and everybody knows the name of Anne Boleyn. But
Mhm.
nobody knows the name of Catherine Howard. It's really
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and Anne Boleyn was around for 7 years before they got married. Catherine Howard was like 3 months. It's like, hey, she's next. Nobody expected this. Nobody expected this at all. She was completely inappropriate as a choice. She had no training. The other women were trained on how to be royal noble women. She had no training. She did not know what she was getting herself into. Yeah,
Obviously.
it's just sad. And you know why we don't remember it? Because it's sad and unjust. It's sad and unjust. And there's no reason, she was treated terribly. So
Agreed. That sucks.
and the big prize was that she got to marry a big, ugly old man. Yeah, exactly. So that's Catherine Howard. I think she has the saddest story.
Agreed. That sucks. I hate that.
So, okay, Catherine Parr, dang. So Catherine Parr is English. She was born in July or August of 1512. She died September 5th of 1548. Her father was Sir Thomas Parr, so she's of a noble family. Her mother is Maud Green. She was raised Catholic. She was super well educated. She could speak Latin, French, and Italian. Now, in history documents, she's Catherine with a C, but when she signed her own name, she always signed it Catherine with a K. And she was married 4 times.
That's crazy.
So in 1529 to 1533 was her first husband, and she was 17, and it was to Sir Edward Rowe. And he didn't live long enough to inherit his father's title. They had no children, so he didn't exactly leave her a wealthy widow. But, less than a year later, she marries her second husband, and she's 21, and she marries John Neville, third Baron of Latimer, and he was nearly twice her age. And he was almost convicted of treason. So in between Jane and Anne of Cleves, the northern part of England revolted against not Henry the VIII. They were really upset about Thomas Cromwell. And so they revolted, and supposedly her husband got kidnapped. Other people said he was leading a rebel group, but he was like, no, I was kidnapped by a rebel group. Anyway, by the time it was all said and done, they were like, all right, you were kidnapped, but we're still going to need you to pay the court a bunch of money for us not to take your head. So this might have led to her kind of like slowly becoming Protestant because she was really unhappy with what the Catholics had done to her husband. Now, when he died, they didn't have any children, and he had children from a previous marriage, but he left her a very rich widow, and she also got to be the guardian of her stepdaughter. So, her second husband thought well of her. In 1543, not long after her second husband died, she marries Henry the VIII. He was 52 and she was 31. During this time at court with Henry, this is when she met Thomas Seymour, who we will find more about later. When she became Queen of England, she also became the first Queen of Ireland. So there you go. Let's see. Influenced Henry to reinstate Mary and Elizabeth into his line of succession. So before this time, Mary and Elizabeth were still considered bastards and could not inherit their the title of queen or successor.
Real quick, for those of you that missed last week, Mary was Catherine of Aragon's daughter, and Elizabeth was Anne Boleyn's daughter. So
yes,
there you go.
And Mary becomes Bloody Mary. So yes. So she does become queen. So does Elizabeth. But for a while, they were out of the line of succession. So in 1543, Third Succession Act, which restored his daughters to the line of succession, put those ladies back into play, which is very important. And here's another thing that Catherine did. In April of 1544, she published her first book anonymously called Psalms and Prayers, which was actually kind of a propaganda prayer book for her husband and the military because they were going to invade France. And there's a prayer in here that was that they still use today when it's a blessing for monarchs that Elizabeth I actually put into the official prayer book of England, and it's still used. So there you go, Catherine.
Sweet. Good job, Catherine.
Yeah. On the 9th of July in 1544, Henry named Catherine regent while he was at war in France. So he must have thought well enough of her. And in June of 1545, she published another book under her own name. And this is the first time a queen had published a book in her own name. It was Prayers of Meditation. The Protestants thought it was a heresy. It was a book about, it had some very Protestant ideas in it. A lot about, how you had to, your faith was enough, not your actions, which was very heretical. So this is when she really got the attention of Bishop Gardiner and other anti-Protestant officials in Henry's court. And they decided to have a warrant for her arrest. And they even got Henry's agreement. And then she convinced Henry that she wasn't a Protestant, but she was just trying to make arguments to keep him stimulated so that he would forget his leg pain. And that she was doing it to distract him. And Henry bought it, and he got to be the big hero and send Bishop Gardiner away. And so she was never arrested for treason, but it was close. It was very, very close.
She was just aligning his humors. That's all.
She was aligning his humors, keeping her womb in place and aligning his humors.
Casting the vapors away.
Whatever. Anyway, Henry dies. As we all know, he was 55 when he died. As Queen Dowager, she was allowed to keep the Queen's jewels and dresses. So that was a big deal. And she received 7,000 pounds a year for her lifetime. Every year she got 7,000 pounds. Very good money. She retired from court to the old manor in Chelsea. She became the guardian for Princess Elizabeth and Lady Jane Grey. And Jane's a fascinating story in herself. And she was very influential on Elizabeth. She was like Elizabeth's mentor. So in 1547 to 1548, she got married. In 1547, she got married very quickly after Henry's death, and she married Thomas Seymour, the first Baron Seymour of Sudley. They had one child, so that was the only time she had a child was with Thomas. Thomas was the uncle of Edward IV. His sister was Jane Seymour.
I was going to say that he's related to Jane Seymour. Yeah,
he is. So he's the younger brother. She had two older brothers, Edward and Thomas. Thomas is a jackass, as we will soon discover, which is a theme. If you haven't noticed, there's nothing but jackass men in this story. So anyway, they have one child. They didn't ask King Edward IV for permission to marry, and this caused a minor scandal. A lot of people thought that Thomas was trying to climb the ladder. Basically, he was a gold digger trying to climb the ladder, and he was. So 9 months after Henry's death, Catherine publishes The Lamentation of Sinners, which is a justification by faith alone, and definitely considered heresy by the Catholics. When Catherine's 35, she becomes pregnant. The thing is, now she not going to be convicted of treason because Edward was a good Protestant. So the young King Edward, I think was 8 or 9 when he became king. He's a good Protestant. So are the Seymours. And this is where Elizabeth gets a lot of her Protestant leanings. Okay, so as I said, Thomas was the younger brother of Edward Seymour, 1st Duke of Somerset and Lord Protector of Edward IV. Because Edward IV was just a boy when he became king, he needed a protector. So Jane Seymour's oldest brother became his protector. This is a posh job. You're pretty much king in everything but title. So it's a big deal. And guess who wanted to have that job? Guess, Jenny. Guess who wanted that job?
Thomas Seymour.
Yes, Thomas Seymour wants this job super bad. Now, there was a rivalry between Catherine and Anne Seymour, Duchess of Somerset, over the Queen's jewels. So Edward's wife wanted the Queen's jewels because she felt that as her husband was the Lord Protector, she had the right to wear the Queen's jewels. She didn't get to.
Yeah, because Catherine Parr got the jewels from Henry.
From Henry. Let's see.
The jewels.
Exactly. So very soon after their wedding, after Catherine and Thomas's wedding, they move in together, and Thomas, to use a modern term, starts grooming Elizabeth.
Oh.
And it turns out that he had tried to marry Elizabeth before he married Catherine.
God, he's just another asshole, Anne. He's just another asshole.
Yeah. Thomas's plan was to usurp his brother, and Edward IV wasn't known as a healthy child. So he kind of felt that if he could usurp his brother and become, the Lord Protector, And if he died, then he'd be married to one of the princesses in line for the throne, and that he could get all the Protestant support, and then he would basically become King of England.
Ooh, you know what? That sounds very Littlefinger.
Doesn't it?
If we're gonna talk Game of Thrones, that sounds so
Mhm.
Littlefinger. Yeah.
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 So, needless to say, once people found out what Thomas was up to with Elizabeth, she was sent to live in another household in Sir Anthony Denny's household in Chestnut, and that's basically where she stayed until Mary was crowned queen. Catherine gave birth to her daughter, Mary. We have another Mary, and that happened in August of 1548. And it happened on the 30th of August, and 6 days later, Catherine died from infection. So Catherine Parr dies. Um, guess who tries to go ahead with his plan anyway and usurp his brother's throne? That's right, or his brother's leadership. Thomas Seymour.
Thomas Seymour.
Yeah, and and just a few months later, after his wife's death, about 6 months after his wife's death, in March 1549, he was beheaded for treason.
Because he was treasonous.
Because he was treasonous. So the
Yeah.
thing is, all the property that Catherine Parr went to Thomas when she died, and then all that property that was all the money and property that would have gone to his daughter went back to the king. So his infant daughter was left with nothing.
Oh.
Yeah. So a few months later, the Restitution of Mary Seymour Act was put into law, and she lived with the Duchess Dowager of Suffolk, who was a friend of Catherine Parr. She did get some money basically for her maintenance. Most historians believe she died probably when she was about 2 or 3.
Oh, it sucks.
Yeah.
Oh, yay. So happy again. So much happiness and joy in these 6 stories. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and in the meanwhile, Anna Calise is still alive and being a
She's
really
like,
wealthy.
"These bitches."
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow.
So
God. Yeah.
there you go, Jenny Brothers.
Damn. There you
Damn.
go. Wow.
And like I said, Jane
Cool.
Grey, someday we'll have to talk about Jane Grey because she's a fascinating lady of history who, again, surrounded by nothing but doucheball men. I mean, God, there's like, I would like to say that, oh, this guy was good. No, Jenny, they were all terrible. They were all terrible.
Yeah. If you're interested in knowing more about all these terrible men and these women that endured them, here's some stuff that you can read.
Yeah. So, we got The Wives of Henry VIII. We got The Hidden Lives of Tudor Women. We've got The Six Wives of Henry VIII by Alison Weir. That's probably the most premier book on the Six Wives. If you want to do some light fiction, we got Felipe Gregory. She's got some great, the other Boleyn women, just fun stuff. Then we also have Wolf Hall Trilogy, which focuses mostly on Thomas Cromwell, which is fascinating. And then, of course, the Explorers podcast. She has a whole season about the ladies' life in Tudor England. And then the musical Six. If you just want to have small time with Henry and lots of time with the ladies, that's the place to go. It's fair. It's fascinating. Fun. I love this. I love these women. I love how they did the best they could with the hand they were dealt. And even queens, it's like these women were royal women surrounded by money. And man, it's still stacked against them. So I just want them to, I'm just glad Anne got to live her best life.
Totally. I can see why. I can see definitely why Anne of Cleves is your favorite, because she did really have the best of all worlds, especially for being a woman at that time, which was kind of shitty.
Yeah, she had
shitty.
She had a ton of money and no man telling her what to do, which seems like the best of all things in that time. She seems like that she's the only one that got to do that.
Yeah, she's the only one that got to do anything. So yeah. Well, Ann Brothers, you did an excellent job. You should give yourself a tote bag. Okay, give yourself a tote bag for doing an amazing job, because you did 2 solid weeks worth of work there. So well done to you, Ann Brothers, and well done to our people who spent another hour with us learning things about stuff. Today, you learned about the second half of Henry VIII's 6 Wives. You learned about Anne of Cleves. You learned about Catherine Howard, and you learned about Catherine of Parr, and you learned that all of the men in their lives were douchebags. And yeah, God, what a mess. What a mess. I'm like, God,
Exactly.
how we have come this far as women, and it all still feels so precarious, you know?
Exactly. It was
God.
just like, I think about Catherine Parr, who before she got married to her fourth husband, Thomas Seymour, like she had set up this house with these other young women who were learning, they were translating stuff into Greek and Latin, they were writing books, and then this jackass guy comes.
It's like,
Fucks it
hey,
all up.
girl. Hey, girl,
Hey, girl.
hey.
Hey, girl.
Hey,
Hey.
girl. What you doing later? Let's get
Exactly.
married. Yeah,
Yeah.
bullshit.
hmm Yeah. Bullshit.
Yeah. So you learned all about these things about stuff, and we as the brother sisters want to hear from you. We want you to answer our questions, leave comments, answer our poll questions. Please give us your questions, concerns, comments, and
Confession.
confessions. That's right.
hmm
I don't know. Maybe you've been married to a king and just never confessed it to anybody. I don't know.
Exactly.
So
I don't know. Are you a fourth wife? Who knows?
I don't know. I have no idea. Remember that you can support the Brother Sisters for free. It costs you nothing to like, follow, subscribe, or leave a review on Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, or Amazon Music. Put the words out to your friends and family. Tell them we're awesome. And
hmm
then, they will see the awesomeness of us. Or if you don't like us, you can tell them to follow, and then, we'll torture them like we're torturing you. Okay, good. All right. Hey, we would love it when you joined us next week. We're going to help you manage the winter blues with the end of dry January, and we are going to prepare you for what we would call wet February, otherwise known as wetuary. That's right. We're going to teach you how to manage some common winter blues things with some of your favorite cocktails or some of the ones that are not so favorite. I'll give you advice for your tending your bar or keeping your stock. And if you're not into that, I'll also have some fun mocktail ideas for you as well, as we will give you some fun ways to spend the rest of the winter, because it feels, like I said, it feels very, very, very January.
It
So there you
does.
go. I'm going to turn on our music so we can get out of here. Thanks, everybody, for spending time with us. We'll see you next week for Wetuary. Until then, I'm Janice Brothers, and with me is my sister.
And brothers.
That's right. And we want you to get out there and do something smart and do something fun and do something dumb. We are out of here. We have to listen to this awesome music before we go. All right, you guys have a great week. Peace.